So I've accused Justin Trudeau of starting a sort of, I would not say global conspiracy, but an idiotic conspiracy to try and undermine Canada's sovereignty through, in part, the Global Compact on Migration. Now, I'm not going to say it's all about the Global Compact on Migration. The wheels on this one started turning before Justin Trudeau got into office, but this is part of his ideology. So is this a willful attempt to destroy Canada? Yes and no. Now, I hate saying, you know, he's a Soros puppet trying to create some sort of blah, 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 blah. But let's look at his ideology from point A to point B. Okay. This is a man who ran on the idea that Canada is a post-national country. So he doesn't believe in nationalism. Now, I've talked about this a lot. I believe in a baseline nationalism, right? Not white nationalism, not whatever nationalism, just Canadian nationalism, like John A. Macdonald, you know, George Washington, anyone who founds a country on national principles. We are Canada, we should be Canada, there has to be a border, we have our own laws, we have our own culture. But he thinks we're post-national, the first post-national country out there. He also said there are no core Canadian values, which is another lie. So he doesn't believe in the country of Canada as a national entity, and he doesn't believe in Canadian values. Straight up said this. Now I'll give him credit in this respect. One, at least he's honest here about his political intentions. At least he's honest about his disdain for Canadian values. So he laid out his ideology there. Then we've gone further and further along. One of the things he's done is he's let people in through the border. Now we could say, was this intentional, was this not? Now, I actually think when it first happened, this was just part of his I want to look better than Donald Trump mentality. One of his failings as a leader, one of his greatest, probably his greatest failing as a leader, is his sort of valuing of his international standing above the Canadian people. As to say, he puts his international reputation above the well-being of the Canadian people, which is the sign of a horrible leader. And one of the ways he did this is by starting the trade wars with Trump. So we've talked a lot about this back in the day. We talked about his follies on NAFTA, right? Him having a good conversation with Trump and then going on and saying, hey, we're not going to be pushed around by Trump. Chrystia Freeland going up and saying, you know, comparing Trump and his followers to Nazis and all that. Basically trying to position himself as the anti, you know, Trump politician, the guy who stands up to him. Let's remember, on NAFTA negotiation, he did get pushed around. And we lost the auto industry because of it. Why did GM leave? Yeah, Trump's tariffs. Why did Trump put on tariffs? Because Trudeau goaded him into it, but ultimately that's both their faults. So he values his international reputation above the Canadian people. Right? We see this on trade deals. We see this on the way he basically says it, that he wants to be a global citizen. Right? Let's just take the tweet from Trevor Noah right now. Right? Trevor Noah had a Global Citizen Day. Hey, Trevor Noah, thanks for everything you're doing to celebrate Nelson Mandela's legacy. At the Global Citizen Festival, sorry I can't be with you, but Canada pledges 50 million. Right? Tweet away 50 million, right? Make it rain. Yeah, we're heavy up to our ears in debt, and the budget didn't balance itself. Who would have thought that balancing a budget was actual work? But still, 50 million. Here you go, Trevor Noah. Even liberals, like Warren Kinsella, I saw, was unhappy with the way he did this. So he wants to be seen as this global citizen. He said that. He wants to be a global citizen. He wants to encourage Canadians are global citizens, right? We want to look good for the EU. He's setting up his post-prime minister trip through Europe, where he can walk through Italy and the Netherlands, and the Europeans go, ooh, he's pretty. Right, so he wants to position himself as a global citizen. So is he trying to maliciously destroy Canada and turn it into a hellhole? No. He's trying to destroy the Canada we have now to bring a phoenix out of the ashes into what he thinks will be something better, this post-national, multi-ethnic, whatever thing. Right, again, multiculturalism, that's multicultural, but all the cultures stay separate. This type of liberal nonsense. So is he willfully, like he's trying to destroy the old Canada to build a new Canada. And I'm sure he thinks this is a good thing, right? But I don't behoove anyone good intentions, right? I'm fully argument that Hitler might have had good intentions for Germany with the Holocaust and that. It still makes him a monster and doesn't make anything he do good, right? 99.9999% of people view themselves as the good guy doing good things. Very few people stand there maniacally, ha 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 ha, I am evil and I will destroy. No one thinks that of themselves. But I think there is a willful attempt to destroy old Canada to build something new. So then you have the refugees coming in. So this is, as I said, this is part of his I want to look better than Trump, the Welcome to Canada tweet, the famous Welcome to Canada tweet. And there was that, and then he created a border crisis. But then he did nothing to stop it, and that's his fault. Moreover, his government has started to create new language, and this is Orwellian as it goes, right? They're no longer illegal border crossers. This is irregular migration, because he's against illegal migration, but irregular migration, well, that's fine. It's just a little irregular, just a little weird. It's just the kid with, the kid who's wearing like a pair of glasses and has a monocle on in class. Just a little irregular. So this is killing us financially, the illegal border crossers. We're paying over $1 billion to house them in hotels. There's hotels full of illegal immigrants. So he started to change the language around migration and willfully bring people into the country that he knows will not have Canadian values. But the reason he knows they won't have Canadian values is he's not pushing Canadian values on them. And that's a bad thing to do. That won't help the immigrants. That won't help Canadians. It's good for no one. I've talked about this. Multiculturalism at its best. I don't like the political philosophy, but I'm fine with the concept of ethnic plurality. Like, I don't care that there's people from, Pakistan or Bangladesh or Venezuela. It's all fine as long as we have a core Canadian values, right? They come, they give some of their culture up, they take some of Canada, and they contribute what they can, and we weed out the good and bad cards. Chopping off people's clitorises. No, that's out of the culture. No FGN. No Sharia law, right? Oh, we want to make, we like this, putting French fries in falafels. Fine. Go for it. Hot sauce. The British, right? I like spicy food, right? There's good and bad with each thing. That's the point of having this. But he's purposely bringing in hordes, we're going to call them hordes of illegal immigrants, and then making sure they take no Canadian culture with them. Willfully encouraging them not to, as the leader. So that's corrupting the social fabric and the social cohesion of Canada. Changing the language around that. So here we're going to tie two more things together. I'm going to read a part from the Global Compact on Migration. So you talked a bit about it, and one of the outstated goals of the Global Compact on Migration, the first one is like love and peace and happiness. The second one around this, in the founding principles in New York, was to set the stage for a global governance. Right? And this is my number one problem with it, is the fact of global governments, the philosophical aspect of globalism. The thought that Angela Merkel and her friends are these unelected bureaucrats or global bureaucrats at the UN know better than us. All these people are good for is pedophilia and terrorism funding and Jew hating. That's all the UN is good for. But saying, right, this is one of the best parts of the American political system is localism, right? That's the founding principle of America and Western civilization. So here's a part from the Global Compact on Migration, which we're going to read right now. So this is Objective 17 in the actual document. So Objective 17 says, eliminate all forms of discrimination and promote evidence-based public discourse to shape perceptions of migration. That might sound okay, but let's look at point 3, or C, under this. Promote independent, objective, and quality reporting of media outlets, including internet-based information, including by sensitizing and educating media professionals on migration-related issues and terminology. Terminology there. Investing in ethical reporting standards and advertising, and stopping allocation of public funding or material support to media outlets that systematically promote intolerance, xenophobia, racism, and other forms of discrimination towards migrants. In full best part about the Global Compact Migration, saying all that, caveat, in full respect of freedom of the media, of course. We're going to re-educate the media, make sure the ones we like get money, make sure the ones we don't like don't get money, make sure they use the words we want to, and punish them with legal action if they don't. In respect of freedom of the media, of course. More brilliant left-wing logic. Brought to you by the same geniuses who brought you ISIS isn't Islamic, criticizing ISIS is Islamophobia. So let's unpack this a bit more. So part of this is Trudeau's philosophy A to B. Sensitizing and educating media professionals in migrated related issues and terminology. Right? This is right. This is creating terminal. It's not illegal border crossing. It's irregular border crossing. That's the new terminology we're using. They're not ISIS fighters. They're foreign travelers. Yes, because me going to the Bahamas for a week and sipping lime and coconuts is pretty much the same as if I went to Syria and raped a bunch of people and burned a village down, murdering thousands. Foreign travelers. You know, some of us like the beach. Some of us like rape and genocide. Who's to judge, really? Who is? Investing in ethical reporting standards. Okay, so we talked about a couple weeks ago the biggest scandal in Canadian news media that the Canadian news media will not cover. Trudeau pledged around $600 million, $595 million if I remember correctly. There's going to be $595 million invested in new media. So the Canadian government helped kill the media industry. Now, part of this is the media is dying in itself. Newspapers and broadcast television are antiquated forms of media, and they're very expensive, and this is catching up on them. But the big killer is they're so heavily regulated by the Canadian government that it's much harder for them to compete against newer medias. So there is no there's no regulation against online advertising and no taxes on if you want to advertise on online platforms, that's tax-free in Canada. But if you want to throw an ad on the National Post, you have to pay taxes on it, making it more expensive. So even the Liberal government, who's now pledging all this money to bail out these media companies, when they advertise, they don't advertise in the media companies they're trying to save. They do it online through mediums that are cheaper because they're humans, but they're also stupid that they don't understand their own actions. So instead of just deregulating the media and saying, okay, we're not going to, let's maybe stop competing with them with the CBC, that's unfair. Let's bring down their costs with the regulation, and let's make it easier for them to compete with online people by taking away these taxes and ads. No. We're still going to make sure they're slow and uncompetitive, but now we're going to subsidize them with $600 million. So here's the catch, right? So now once you take $600 million of government money, right, that's a little cash flow. And because the problems aren't solved, right, the long-term problems aren't solved, they're going to get themselves back into that situation again, which means they'll need another couple $100 million to be bailed out. But in order to get the bailout, you have to use the proper terminology. You can't promote racism or xenophobia on migrants, right? You got to report the evidence-based truth. Yeah, more than 2/3 of Canadians, including the majority of all three political party members, yes, 53% of the NDP, think that there's a border crisis in Canada. 66% of Canadians think we have a crisis at the border. But that's not evidence-based. It's not fact-based. The evidence shows that irregular migration increases Canada's love factor by 70 billion feminism points. And I did a gender-based analysis to prove it. I have my gender studies goggles on. I have half my head shaved like a dumbass. And I say that irregular migrant crossers are the backbone of the Canadian economy. And by backbone, I mean taking up homeless shelters and hotels. So there you have it. This is the danger of it, right? This is 1984, right? My favorite thing that the media reported after Trump won, there was a massive spike in the sales in 1984. Good on you people reading. And the media reported this. This is a big story in CNN. Trump has increased sales in 1984. What does this mean? Well, it means blah, 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 blah. And then a week later they stopped talking about it. Why? Because everyone on the left read 1984 and realized, oh, that's me. I'm the bad guy in this book. Oops. But this is standard Orwellian tactics, right? And there's a famous saying from Ronald Reagan, right? Right? If it moves, tax it. If it keeps moving, regulate it. If it stops moving, subsidize it. That's what happened to the Canadian media. But now they're hooked on this government money. And we already have a corrupt government media organization. Now we have whatever. So this is how they're slowly starting to cut off, right? And this sets the table for online censorship of shows like this, right? They said on internet, right? They can't have people like me saying lies like What are some of my lies? We're spending over $1 billion on illegal migration. Homeless people in Canada are out in the streets because of immigrants. That's another standard lie. Most of the people we've let in through the States are unemployed. Oh, and there's also people are coming in, they found a new loophole. Basically, you come into Canada illegally, and then you claim anchor resident status, and people say, oh, I already have a family member in Canada, so people come in a day later. More lies. Lies from evil, evil me. Evil, evil, evil me. So this is how you destroy the fabric of society. You take away free media, you flood the country with economic migrant seekers, that's how you ruin an economy. And now, I don't want to take away from legal immigrants, but when someone comes in from Haiti and they can speak French. Let's say you come in from Somalia, you have no English. Right? Do you think they're ready to work? Our economy is shifting away from low-skill wages, right? We need $15 minimum wage. Well, yeah, you're getting replaced with machines. Can Somali immigrants with no education do high-tech labor? No. And these low-tech jobs that we generally have immigrants authority in, they're going away. They're going away for Canadians and immigrants alike. But we're bringing in more and more and more low-skilled immigrants, and that's going to undercut the welfare system, right? And then we need to increase taxes and burden the people who are making more money, right? You increase taxes, and that's how you destroy the middle class. That's Lenin's theory on taxation, right? That's the goal of socialism, according to Vladimir Lenin, the first socialist government, right, is to crush the people, the bourgeoisie, between the millstones of taxation and inflation. And by the way, when people talk about the bourgeoisie, you don't realize you're the bourgeoisie, all of you. If you have a computer and you're watching this, you're the bourgeoisie right now, even if you hate me. The proletariat doesn't exist. You know who killed the proletariat? Capitalism. Proletariat are people who work on subsistence wages. We guess we have some of that, slave labor and all that. I'm not saying they're gone. But a carpenter, a nurse, those are the bourgeoisie. That's what people don't realize. People think they're aristocrats. Marx was mad at aristocrats. Those are like the super rich. His thing, we'll just kill all of those people, take their wealth. But the bourgeoisie are the real big problem. Because the carpenter, the doctor, the nurse, they have a little bit of disposable income. And what do they want? They want a better life for their kids. But you can't have a better life in the utopia because the utopia is perfect. Everything's perfect. It has to remain static. That's why the bourgeoisie are also dangerous. And that's why the left is trying to convince you, and the cultural Marxists, they're trying to convince you that you're the proletariat. When in fact, you're the bourgeoisie. If you're watching this on any medium, you are part of the bourgeoisie. And that's not a bad thing. Marx was wrong about political philosophy and evolution and all that. So this is how Canada will be destroyed. Through inflation and taxation to subsidize a bunch of immigrants who will basically be struck on government welfare. And they're already living in hotels on our dime. Social discord through basically not understanding each other's cultures. We're destroying our own energy industry. We're refusing to build pipelines. We're basically containing Alberta oil in itself. Right? Trudeau's mad at Saudi Arabia, but we still can't get Canadian oil instead of Saudi Arabian oil. So undermining energy industry, so we can't be self-sufficient. Undermining the economy with a bunch of low-skilled laborers when we're transitioning away from that. Crushing the middle class through taxation to pay for all of this, because there's not enough money in the upper class to do it. Right? That's how you destroy Canada. Right there. So I don't care if it's willful or unwillful. But this is a dedicated plan, and it might as well be planned. He might as well have a twirly mustache laughing maniacally while strapping Rana Ambrose to a railroad